Hey David, what's going on?
Hey,
So I hear
you made
I
it.
hear Discord doesn't like you very much.
Man, we got in a fight earlier because it didn't want to let me hear anybody in the room in just that one particular place we were hosting. Everywhere else was working. It didn't want to know
Yeah.
if I was woke.
The Discord, higher ups, officials, they really don't want us doing stuff like this, obviously.
Truly the deep state.
Yeah, the deep state. It is the deep state. Deep state of Discord. But other than that, how's your day going, David?
It's doing good. It's doing good. I'm getting functioning back in my foot after trying to keep up with a small child on trampoline. And yeah, did a bunch of work. How about you?
Yeah, just living up life, you know. Called some what are they called? Pavers from somebody was giving them out for free, so I got them, threw them in my father-in-law's truck, brought it over to our house. Now we have free pavers. That's pretty
All
sweet.
right.
Yeah,
All right. Getting that home situated.
yeah.
So
It's
what are
all
we doing
good.
today, Pierce? What in the world
Well,
have
I know
we
you want me to
decided to
explain
do
it.
here?
You want me to
I
explain
do.
it, but it was your idea.
Exactly. That's why I want you to explain it.
Oh,
Your
come on, man.
background suits the title.
Yeah, yeah. It's got nice colors. You know.
It's true. So we wanted to reach out here and say help us figure out are we woke? Uh, let's review some ideas what people think woke is. I mean, what is woke? We see it everywhere. Um, let's figure out how someone becomes woke, how someone is not woke, or why any of that even matters. So we'll be taking some calls up to get some people's opinions or have them ask us questions. You can talk to Two Day David, the cardboard cutout, who he's lounging back there, but he's there. The man born yesterday. That's Two Day David. You can explain to him or Pierce, or maybe even let Taco say a word or two. He's hanging out here.
Or there is Alan. Alan is always here, even if you can't see him.
The alien.
Yeah,
The
he is. He just landed, so he might not actually be here, but I'll relay all communications right to Alan. No worries about that.
I love it.
All right, looks like we're finally started here in Discord, so we don't have to dilly dally too much. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we're gonna be talking about stuff related to the term woke. If anybody wants to come up, hey, somebody raised their hand. Yeah, let's bring them up, and we'll. Holy cow! I can't
Get
find
rolling.
you. Yeah, it keeps
It's
on moving on
moving.
me.
Oh
I think
man.
I got him. I got him. That
Nice.
was that was a challenge.
Hi, hello. My name's
Hey,
Hello.
Haley.
how's it going?
Yeah, just resident ANCAP of Politics Discord. I would just like to
Nice.
ask you more so, what do you believe woke is?
Hmm. Yeah, I find it as like this term that everybody is using differently. You might ask, five different people, and they'll all give you a different answer. So I don't really like using the term at all. I don't really use it, just because.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
well,
this. It's just loaded.
I think, yeah, I would definitely agree with you, even despite my side being like extremely like quotation marks anti woke. I think the conversation is better when we actually talk about the policies we believe are insufficient. So, like, I think when people talk woke, they should simply say, hey, I think DEI is disingenuous instead of saying, oh, this woke catch all term or something. Then we can actually have like a dialogue.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I like to talk about the individual issues rather than wokeism, and it's like, what is that? Well, I don't know. Well, you don't know. Okay, let's talk
Well,
about the
I just
issues.
think
Yeah.
Well, I think my thing is like so I'm assuming you're more of a liberal person, I'm guessing, socially.
Yeah. I think I lean
Forgive me,
towards that way.
I don't know anything about you, so I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah. No, I think most, like, probably many liberals would describe me as being more center. Actually, probably both sides would describe me as being centered, but I think I lean a little bit left.
Okay, so like short fat otaku, but a little bit more left centric. Okay.
Sure.
It's just I'm just trying to I'm writing my notes down just to get to know you a little bit better. But yeah, I would say that the best definition, I think, like if I'm just gonna go with what people have been telling me, it's like an aggressive push for identity policies within corporations and government. That's the best one I've heard so far. But even so, like, how do you think about that definition?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the definition we could go with. I mean, yeah.
Can you say it one more time?
I'll say I'll add an aggressive push for DEI policies within government and corporations. I think that because that's what I've been hearing on my side, and that's usually what I have averaged out the median as what it means. But I think also I don't like this definition either because like me and ANCAP and a conservative are gonna look at this a very different way. Because mind you, I said DEI. You're usually never gonna hear like a Trump supporter mention DEI. They're simply gonna be like, "Gay woman in TV, me don't like." So I don't think it's that good either. But I would say, do you have issues with this definition, or do you think it's just not a thing?
I think it's one interpretation of what it might mean. Like I think we all define words differently. I don't think anyone can be necessarily wrong with the definition. We just might disagree on the definition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want
yeah.
to like. Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people would agree with that definition. I think a lot of people would disagree with it, but
well, for the sake of conversation, I think it, in my opinion, it's like the best like good faith interpretation of what people are actually trying to say. Because obviously, like when people say woke, they're usually referring to something that usually adds a minority to some institution or something somehow or some way. They just don't say how usually. Or some push for diversity. I'm like an actual policy that would actually do that is like DEI, like an actual real thing.
Can you what do you think your best guess of why DEI is something that's pushed?
Personally, I'll be honest with you. I haven't really been concerned with stuff like that. So that's what I've just been hearing. So I think it's like a policy where maybe incentives are given to companies. So let's say you hire like a Native American, your ESG score would go up and you'd get more funding from either like a private institution or a government that would subsidize you for accomplishing this goal. So personally, I'm not against like financial incentives to do this. Personally, if you want to, you should be able to do it. But like, is this getting to the goal of does this actually help people who are marginalized in society? I think that's like a more important question. Or is it like a PR thing for businesses? And I want to get your take on that. Do you think this helps any, or do you think it's like negative? Like, what's your take on it?
I think I lean personally that that there's a huge component of businesses building profiles to meet the zeitgeist of the time. I think that is really, in my mind, it's an expression of capitalism. It's trying to develop a market image to say that you have these kind of credibilities. It used to be the zeitgeist was a more religious space, Christian base. You were a company with high morals in that way, and then the times became where that currency wasn't as spendable. It's a thought, and then there's like the legitimate desire of people to balance out the workforce to try to bring people who have had disadvantages up, give them a like a boost, like a foot boost. But I ultimately think it's been co-opted in a way to, and for, so I mean, I think that's
I
part of
would
where
actually.
I'm at.
That's a very interesting take. Co-opt by whom and for what reasons?
By businesses and political leaders as a way to
Like, you don't have to give me like a hard. I'm not going to be pedantic on you. It doesn't have to be like this extremely hard. You have to give me someone right now. It can just be like your, you know, general opinion on it.
I'm actually kind of lost to what you meant by that.
So basically, like, I want you to be like a little bit more specific, but I'm not going to be upset if it's not like a name drop or anything. Like, if you
Sure.
want to name drop a company or like an institution, I would like to hear it.
Right. Like a university or like the military or something. I mean, it's almost a way to kind of give a inch without having to do as many actual overhauls on things.
Okay.
That's a very vague statement, but I realize now this is going to be a long expression of thought process.
No, I think you gave, like, we can always come back to it. I think that's a good, like, for me, like, I'm just going to put out bluntly, it's a way to soften like civil issues. So let's say you're a business that has been famously known or has, let's say, a progenitor that, let's just say, really loved Germany. How do you soften civil issues with that when the majority of, like, I think, a company I'm about to say here, once I say more, when you're a popular cologne brand, like, how do you soften the blows so you can make more money? You simply change the faces of the people. You use like a slate, like a clean slate of diversity without actually touching on the issue that, like, the woman who founded Chanel was a Nazi supporter. Like, a lot of people don't know that. But my thing is like, that's the power of business, I would have to say, is that, are they actually changing what has happened, or are they trying to simply make more money? Which I think is okay, obviously due to my political inclinations, but I still think that when we all do okay, society does okay. So, like, me personally, I do think there's a financial benefit to helping marginalized people, in my opinion, through private means. And I think a lot of these businesses are not very effective at actually getting people to think about adding minorities to their games, their businesses, because of the way they do it. Like, it seems like it's more in spite of people than it is for the people, if that makes sense.
Can you give an example of that? And we're going to do about 4 more minutes. Since we got a good number of hands up, I'm going to try to circle through some.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure you put in your stuff too, because I'm going to watch your stuff. But
appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. But I would say that, like, how can I say it? Like, Disney. Like, I'll use a current example, the Acolyte. The issue isn't that they use minorities, or for some people it is. Like, their IQ is like 50. The issue is that they're willing to make these people extremely unlikable and unmarketable for the sake of inclusion, when they're actually just hurting the prospects of these people in further endeavors. Like, imagine you see some person in a game and you see it like flop, and it's like has a lot of diversity. That's going to lead a lot of people to possibly not make that choice, which you can see with other games that are not from, like, the US, such as China and Japan. Like, it's really difficult to get them to put a lot of diverse characters, not because they hate diverse characters. There's several medias that portray a lot of minorities within these East Asian media things, but there's been comments that they just don't like these characters. I don't think it's because they're racist. I just think that they see them in a negative light when they're betrayed in bad faith, like DEI projects by companies, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Basically,
think-
you're hurting the cause, man. You're hurting the cause.
I think I followed what you said.
Yeah.
Um,
Like Miles
yeah,
Morales was a
you have
hated
some-
character in the comics. And now he's extremely popular because people that actually cared about his character, like, and just say, hey, Miles is a man who happens to be black and Hispanic, and actually made him a likable character. And that's why he's selling merch in these countries now. But other
Hmm.
characters seem to not do so. So you can see example that this character, this diverse character, is able to make boongo bucks. But why can't his other contemporaries make as much money as him? Well, it's because they're just shittily done.
Hmm. I wonder if that actually has anything to do with diversity, or if it's just like the companies just are putting out shit shows, you know?
Well, I think it does. I think when, like, let's say, because we're in a Western perspective. So let's say like you're someone like, because getting into the Chinese and like East Asian market is massive for like franchises to like survive and keep going. So let's say you see a show with the Acolyte. You're expecting Darth Vader in this, and they introduce a new character, but she's mean, she's lame, she's poorly written. This might affect how that person sees characters that look like her, unfortunately, when like they watch another show. So if they watch like a show with another character, like let's say they made a live action Static Shock, they simply
I hope
might
they
just
do.
not buy the tickets
Well, no,
because
actually, I don't think they. I hope they don't.
I don't think they do. But you get my point, is that it can poison the well for these characters when they do this like really shitty rendition of these characters.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it would be in their best interest to make the characters as interesting as possible and write the best stuff.
Yeah, like
Yeah, like what's their motivation for not putting out their best performance?
But maybe we should do a
Personally-
study of how many terrible shows are being written in total. I mean,
personally, I'm about to be
could
in
just
some
be-
bad faith here. I think some of these people are just blatantly just bigoted people. Like I don't want to be that person, but
Mhm.
when the characters' actions are more so being like me hate white people or me hate West, and more so less about them, it seems like the character wasn't written to actually cause inclusion, but to just like upset Christian boomers, which I think is a deep disservice. Like we all know that person that tries to be a little bit edgy to seem like they're a good person, but then it just seems a little off, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like I'm not against critiquing these systems or things that people dislike, but when it's so slathered on, it doesn't seem like you're actually trying to critique the power system. It seems like you're just legitimately just hating the people. And I'm just like, ugh, it's going to come off as nasty and gross. But like I said, the character I keep using, I know it's a thing, Miles Morales, like he's just a
Spider-Man.
character within it. Yeah, he's just a character within a show or whatever. It doesn't seem like he's there to, like, there is a message. There's a lot of messages. Like I think there's like some
Mhm.
dog whistles for liberalism and stuff like that in the show, which is nothing wrong. Like shows are political in general. But it doesn't seem like they're doing it because he hates someone. It's because he cares a lot about something else, if that makes sense.
Motivations.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
It's like when you try to make a
Sure.
character. This goes into media in general.
Yeah,
Is that-
I love this conversation. I want to have this conversation with you. I'm going to run through some other callers first, and if you want to hang around, I can run this with you a little bit more. But I got to
Yeah.
ask you quick before you go.
Yeah.
Are we woke? What do you think so far? Are we
We're
woke
woke.
yet?
I don't think you're woke, and I think you're like, this is coming from like an extreme rightist revolutionary. I don't think you guys are woke, and I think you are not intersubjectively evil. I think you
I'll
just
take
care.
it. Not evil.
Yeah.
I do care. I do care.
Yeah,
You might disagree, but I think you legitimately do care.
might still be woke by the end of the night. We'll see though.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
know.
I mean, my chicken wings while I watch like some guy schizo post on you.
I love it. Thanks for coming up,
All right.
buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
No problem. No problem.
All right. I don't really know who was next. Do you
I
have
think
any
it
idea
was
who was?
Spirit or
Spirit?
Reverse Camus? One of the two.
I
think
see
it was Spirit.
spirits. So yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Is my mic okay? It's not too loud.
You sound
That's pretty
good.
good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna start out by kind of stating where I'm coming from. So I myself on the political compass test, I am basically almost dead center with a very slight leaning to the right. In my personal view, I consider myself as more of a libertarian, who believes in more like free, open market, small government policies. But at the same time, I do understand the need for some amount of regulation. So I am, in terms of political compass test, I land pretty much almost dead center. But in terms of my own personal view, kind of coming from a more libertarian conservative type of viewpoint. So that said, my experiences, I've been on the server for a number of years, off and on. Mainly took an interest in politics. I think, like a lot of folks, during the lead up to the 2016 presidential election, which obviously that kind of got a lot more people into politics and political debates, and a lot more people started to care, which I don't see as a bad thing inherently, as long as people are actually, doing their own research. They're actually looking from as many sources as possible and kind of coming to their own conclusions. That being said, I'm going to start off by saying that at some points, not generally speaking, but at some points, I've found some of the leadership in the server to be more of a left-leaning point of view by and large. It's not always the case, but generally speaking, if there is, say, a very heated argument between two people, generally speaking, I find it is the conservative voices that do tend to get silenced first. So that is something that I've seen, and it hasn't been very often. It's been like once in a blue moon that I've seen this happen. But it has been something that I have observed before. Now, that being said, getting into the topic on hand, which is, is the server woke? Are you guys woke? I mean, I don't know either of you two personally. It seems like you guys are pretty moderate, if maybe a little bit left leaning from the sounds of it. I'm gonna start with the same place that the previous speaker did, which is sort of the definition of woke, because I think it's important we have our definition set straight before getting into debates on different topics. So in
Sure.
terms of woke, the way I personally view it, my definition, when just to say, I don't believe definitions can be purely subjective. I think there needs to be some objective reasoning behind a definition. But my way of viewing woke is that it's an evolution of the social justice movement from back, about 10 years ago or so, that aims to force and coerce through both government and corporate pressures DEI policies into the mainstream through things like television, movies, social media, etc. And that is doing so without regard for consumer sentiment, all in the name of virtue. And this is the big sort of problem that I have with wokeism personally, and with the whole um the whole uh like social justice movement that preceded it. It's because the whole movement, in my view, is based on the premise of the oppressed, instead of striving for liberation, tend to become oppressors themselves by giving one marginalized group advantages over others. One at the same time then disadvantages other groups. So you can't have it both ways. You can't be striving for equality among groups and equality among people while giving certain advantages to specific groups in the name of misdeeds that were done in the past. The fact is, we can't go back and change the past. We can't go back and change the events of the past. What we can do is we can choose to, as a society and as people, as individuals, we can choose to move forward in a better direction that is based on fairness and equality. And I want to make a distinction with that term really quick. When I'm saying equality, I'm not referring to equity. There is a difference between the two, and a lot of people do tend to get confused. The difference between equality and equity is that equality is an equality of opportunity. It's equal opportunity for all people, regardless of race, sexual identity, anything like that. But when it comes to equity, equity tends to strive for an equality of outcome. And that is another point that wokeness as a movement, I find, does tend to push for, is equality of outcome. The fact is, no two people are ever going to have the same outcomes in life, regardless of who you are. And trying to strive to live in this utopia where equality of outcome is a reality, it's kind of reminiscent actually of I don't know if how many people have seen The Incredibles, but it's that old what was it, that one villain in The Incredibles? He said, when everyone's super, no one will be. And he has a point with that. When everyone is on the same level, when everyone is on the same power level, then or same financial level, or on the same social level, then nobody is truly unique. Everybody's just another
Okay.
face in the crowd. So
Yeah.
by trying to push
So we
for
get.
equity, you
I hear you.
essentially rob
I hear
people of
you.
their individuality.
Spirit, I'm gonna jump in a little bit so we can
Yep.
land on a little bit of this. So you don't want everybody to have the same outcome. Okay, understand. How do you determine when to care? Can you imagine any scenarios at which there are, 5 indiscreet people, like any kind of people who aren't on the same starting block? Like, how do you?
Oh, absolutely. Not everybody gets born into a family that has wealth. I would know for myself, I did not get born into a family that was wealthy. My dad literally he worked his ass off from before I was even born. He lived on a basically I'm from Canada, so we have something called Hutterite colonies. And so it's basically similar to the Amish, except they're less afraid of technology. But essentially, these colonies, they act in a similar way. They're very to themselves. And when my dad left the colony, he had nothing. He had jack shit except the clothes on his back. So he went to the nearest major city, and he worked using what little skills that he had growing up on the farm, being carpentry and welding. He used those skills to go to school and to get an education, and to get himself. He applied for student loans. He got himself an education in a trade, and he worked his ass off for the past 25 years that I've been alive, and then some, to bring my family out from place of quite literally poverty to now owning our own family home within the past 5 years. So it's that being said, it wasn't an easy climb. Like, we actually did declare bankruptcy at one point right in the middle of it, so it hasn't been an easy climb. But I can speak firsthand experience that when you you can start from quite literally the bottom. You can start literally from nothing, and you can work your way up. It's about giving people opportunity of like equality of opportunity, giving them equal opportunity to go and get themselves into a better place. But they have to put in the work. It can't just be handed to them, as equity tends to try to do.
Do you think there are any instances at which things like DEI or like a social justice type push would be helping create more equal opportunity?
Generally speaking, I would say that's only in the case of where the law is concerned, because as the law stands throughout North America, generally speaking, unless there is some really old obscure law that rarely ever gets brought up that is preventing this. Generally speaking, everybody under the rule of law in North America does have equal opportunity under the law, does have the same opportunities as anyone else. It's a matter of, for one, can these people learn about their opportunities that they have? That's one. If making people aware of the opportunities that they have is a very key point, a very key stepping stone in that.
That sounds like a
but that
Yeah.
that might be a good start. But in
That's good.
terms of like DEI policies, I would generally say those hurt more people than they help. Especially, for example, let's say Disney's been caught under fire recently on Twitter. There have been some leaked video interviews from some Disney executives that have outright said that Disney is not looking to hire white people, specifically not straight white men, at all. They are if you are straight, if you're white, man or woman, especially man, then you are basically not welcome as a part of Disney's creative team, or to be a part of their upper levels of employees. You are going to be shown the door pretty darn quick, and that is something coming from one of the mouths of someone who works at Disney. So
Can you think of a reason that might be an advantage for the people at Disney?
The reason it is an advantage for them is, again, going back to things like ESG scores. So ESG scores go up, the more they hire these ethnic and sexual minority groups, and then they get more private funding from big giant corporations and like mega corporations like BlackRock, for example. I believe they are a giant investment company. If I've done my research right, they basically invest in tons of companies around the world, and they're one of the biggest shareholders, I think, of Disney and a whole bunch of other corporate entities. So they obviously want to push an agenda, and that would be a way to go about it is to incentivize it with cash. And obviously the execs at Disney, they want to make a big fat paycheck. Everybody, like, at the end of the day, I'm a believer everybody's in for themselves at the bottom line. Everybody's in it for themselves. We can help people, we can help others. Sometimes we help people, but usually it's only when it's convenient for us as well. And that's something I do actually as my day job. I do professional fundraising. I call people that donate to charities. I try to convince them that, hey, we want to thank you so much for being an awesome supporter, and we would like you to donate again. I hear from people on the ground daily about just how much they're struggling. And here in Canada, it's particularly bad. But that being said, when people are struggling, they don't want to help others. And so it teaches me that people at the end of the day, first and foremost, care about their own needs. So obviously these people, these hired execs at Disney, they want to pad their pockets, they want to provide for their families, they want that dream yacht that they've been waiting for, that sports car, whatever it is that they want. They have an inherent greed, as anyone does. I think no one's devoid of greed. They have an inherent greed that they are wanting to feed, and they will do what it takes in order to get the money in order to feed that. So that would be a reason among many others. As to why places like BlackRock might be pushing a woke agenda like that, if I could call it that. That I truly haven't the slightest idea. That I don't know. It might just be a group of people that are like-minded, that want to see this stuff thing because they genuinely think it's going to do good. Or, it could be the opposite. Maybe the world is run by madmen, and we are, we're all just kind of watching shit play out before our eyes because a whole bunch of people want to see the world fail. I don't know. I can't speak to either way on that. But, there's people on both sides of that argument. Point being, though, is that in terms of these ESG policies, at the end of the day, we can see based on evidence, it's not really it's not really helping people so much as it is dividing people, and it's also putting people at unfair disadvantages, certain groups of people at unfair disadvantages in this pursuit of giving an advantage to someone who was historically oppressed. I understand the people that do.
You think it's only in the history, or do you think they might still have a disadvantage today if it were not for these policies?
I would think that in terms of like the law, I would think that these people, I would understand that they do have, under the eyes of the law, the same advantage, or not same advantages, but the same opportunities to gain advantage as anyone else. So
Legally, yeah, I would agree.
Legally, under the eyes of the law, they have that opportunity. Now, whether or not they choose to take the steps that are necessary, whether or not they know about the steps that are necessary, and whether or not they choose to take those steps to gain that advantage, to gain a higher position in society, or to gain a higher financial status, or whatever it is they're trying to achieve, because we, as all human beings, we all have something that we want to achieve. Whatever it is that they're trying to achieve, whether or not they choose to take the steps to do that is up to them. It's up to the individual. And that comes down to personal freedom. It comes down to personal accountability and responsibility.
If these policies, these DEI policies, the investors, all of that,
Yep.
Hypothetical scenario, these don't exist. This is not a thing. What
Okay,
do
we know
the
that this does exist, but go on.
right? I know. That's why I said hypothetical.
Yep.
What does the big wigs, the big shots, the people who work their way up to the top at Disney? What do they look like? Are they diverse? Are they all white folks?
I couldn't tell you, because really whether or not someone can be at the top of a corporation, I think comes less down at the end of the day to someone's someone's race or their sexuality or whatever. It comes down to who they are as a person. You have it comes down to whether or not they can, for one, do the job. Anyone who's done any sort of entertainment work, if you've done, I've done work in entertainment before. I've done acting, I've done drama, I've done a whole bunch of stuff myself. I've been told by so many people in that industry that it is so much less about what you know, it's about who you know and who can vouch for you. And it's also about, can you do the job? Can you are you a good person to work with, and can someone again vouch for you? So having those connections, having those opportunities, that does definitely help for sure. But there's nothing stopping someone who, say, grew up in the Bronx from going and studying their ass off to get out into a better place, to get into a better position where they can go to college, they can go to university or whatever, become a lawyer or something like that, and start their own law firm. There's nothing really stopping that at the end of the day, except for a person's own drive. And I think a lot of people tend to minimize that.
Do you think there's any kind of correlation between having to know somebody and having people who might not typically be in those circles? Like historically, affirmative action pushes for like women and Black people who couldn't know somebody. The people who were the people who let you in, who knew people, were not letting those people in, and so that we had to, as a society, say, look, you can't gatekeep that.
No, I can appreciate that. So I would say there is some credence to that, I will admit. I would kind of fire back at a question though for you. Is it better to, like, and here's the thing. I'm not going to say for a moment that, people who, for example, are women or who are ethnic minorities, that they shouldn't be able to strive for those higher positions at all, or that they can't do those positions. But I'm going to posit a question to you. Let's say you have and let's leave even the whites out of this, okay? Let's leave the whites out of it. Let's say you have a Black guy and you have a Hispanic guy, right? Both of them are applying for the exact same job. Say the Hispanic guy, he's actually got better college credits, right? Better college credits. He has a better transcript. He's shown in his portfolio that he's more capable of doing the job than the Black guy. Okay. Let's say the Hispanic guy has that, and the Black guy, let's say, he's kind of got average scores. He's kind of gotten, he didn't really study a lot in school. He kind of, went to frat parties or whatever. Let's say that is the case, right? So who do you think, if leaving out the ESG, leaving out the affirmative action, all of that, on a level playing field where everyone has equal opportunity, who do you think, even put yourself in the business owner's shoes, who are you most likely to pick to be the person who takes that job opening you have?
Like I would pick the most qualified candidate. I could see
Exactly.
I could
My
see
uncle's
a
friend
business owner not
answer.
doing that though. Yeah.
That is
mean-
the thing though, and that's part of the thing with the ESG and with the affirmative action, is that for a monetary incentive, it primes employers to pick otherwise potentially, not guaranteed, but potentially less qualified individuals, because there's a monetary incentive for doing so based on their race or skin color. Basically getting rewarded for having a token Black or Hispanic or whoever.
Do we have any data on of like, to say that it was down between these people and this less qualified person got the job? Do we have any data
personally,
that
I don't
specifically
think,
points that out?
There may very well be. I would hazard to guess, because I don't have it in front of me, I would hazard to guess that it's not much, because what employer is going to, like, what big business, what big corporation is going to self-report that, oh yeah, all these people that were way more deserving of the job in terms of their accreditations, all these people, we turn them away because they're white? Or
I mean,
we
is
turn them
that
away
on their
because
resume?
well, I mean, for a lot of people it is nowadays. Their ethnicity
Really?
is on their resume. Yeah. Especially
Never
if you
seen
have
a resume with that.
I mean,
actually
maybe
in
building a
Canada,
profile,
for
trying to
example,
play
in
the game.
Canada. Yeah, that's the thing. People will put that on their resumes, particularly if they are hiring for a company that has those affirmative actions. And in fact, a lot of companies on their if they have those, if they're taking advantage of those payments of ESG or whatever, they
I mean,
will
do you
have
really
that
think the
in
amount
their
of
hiring
potential
management.
lost business and the amount of potential errors that would have to be correct would be worth whatever this payment you're describing? I mean, it sounds like such a
I
headache
I
for.
personally I personally believe that as time goes on, businesses more and more are finding that out, that it's not worth it, because of the fact that, for example, let's take Disney again. Disney has had flop after flop after flop after flop over the past few years, and I would say it really started with Endgame because
2 more minutes, by the way, and we're going to run to
sure,
the next color.
no problem. So it specifically started with Endgame. I think was when the real big push for this so-called wokeness at Disney really started. And we saw that even in Endgame with them pushing, the big scene with all the the girl power stuff, and then Captain Marvel coming in and as a Deus Ex Machina at the end. Personally, I hated that shit. Fuck Captain Marvel. But no, that being said, when it comes to Disney, Disney's been having flop after flop after flop after flop. Netflix as well has been having a lot of flops as of late. The Witcher series on Netflix has fallen off completely because the sort of woke show writers that they have, that are the showrunners, are basically completely woke. They don't respect the source material. They don't really take too much from the source material, and they're not being faithful to the source material, which is what the fans who are watching, who are paying for Netflix's subscription, some of them to specifically be able to watch that content be portrayed faithfully, they're not getting that now. And so these companies are quickly finding out that when you prioritize, wokeness, woke hiring practices, and people that generally speaking are not going to respect the source material in the case of movies and television, they're not going to respect the source material, but they just check off a box. Well, in long run, they're going to lose, because they're going to lose trust in their subscribers. They're going to lose trust in their fans, and they're going to overall lose consumer sentiment, which is really the biggest hit to a business that a business can take. Consumer sentiment is what makes or breaks a business at the end of the day. It will determine a whole lot of factors, including sale volume. In the case of Netflix and Disney, it'll determine things like subscriptions. Same with Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars just got in deep shit for the fact that it basically adopted a very woke story into its universe that totally flies in the face of established Star Wars canon. And really, people who are faithful to Star Wars, people that have grown up with Star Wars, people that are passionate about Star Wars, are completely fed up. And it's all
I
to
like that.
appease. Some people did, but
Maybe he's woke. We're
the
getting a
vast
point. Somebody
majority
put it on the board.
the vast majority did not. The vast majority were really canning the show, and I think if I remember correctly, it received really shitty audience review scores. But that being said,
But we're
it's
talking
something that
about
we're
it.
seeing. Yes, we are, but again, it's because it fits
Like, how much are we talking about? Uh, the Greatest Showman on Earth. I don't know what's an obscure movie. I can't even think of other
Greatest Showman was
movies.
actually the Greatest
Yeah,
Showman
I mean
was
that was
actually a pretty
the
darn
terrible
good,
example.
pretty
But
good
I
movie, but
mean,
underrated. But that being said, it
we're
is
talking
something
about
that
these movies.
we do talk about these movies, but it also matters the context in which we talk about them, because the context in which we talk about them matters. So if we're talking about these in a woke context, that's going to turn off a lot of people right there, because a lot of people are just done with the fact that woke show writers, showrunners, that these woke corporate heads are sacrificing good story, good writing in the name of checking off boxes that give them a higher ESG score.
All right, one
And
quick question: what's a good movie? What's a recent good movie?
a recent good movie. I would actually have to say, what was one that I saw recently that was pretty decent? The Fall Guy, I think. And
Fall Guy.
also Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Those were really good movies. Really good writing.
Yeah, Spider Man. I love that one.
Yeah, really good writing, really good characters, really good story building.
I bet you that it costs less to make Velma, and more people have talked about Velma and watched Velma than 10 or so modern movies that have come out. Um,
Sure, but how many people also cancel their subscriptions for things like, well, just one that comes to mind in the
How many
past few
people got it to watch the show, to hate watch it? What I'm trying to
Well,
say is it's
I don't think
rainbow
hate watching.
capitalism.
I don't
It's
think.
again,
I don't
it's
think
it's
hate
it's
watching. I don't
useful.
think hate watching is as much of a like as much of a thing as people say it is. It might be a small minority of people, but a lot of people, if they hear something's bad, they just won't watch it.
I mean, look, you type in the word woke and it comes up with like I don't know the quartering and all these people who are just responding to everything. It's like they added wokeness. Duh! Like
Mhm.
I've seen that at least twice. Um,
And again, I could understand that because for someone who is let me say, are you like are you more conservative? Are you more liberal? Because you seem a bit more liberal to me. You seem like you'd be more chill with that sort of thing.
me personally,
Yeah. Yes.
I consider myself pretty conservative. Honestly, I'm more conservative than Pierce.
Okay.
think so?
That's fair.
I think so.
If you say so. I would say for a lot of people, for example, that are conservative, which there are a lot,
Sure.
for a lot of people that are conservative, they will hear about something like that and they'll be like, "Okay, I'm not watching that, and my kids aren't watching that."
Hmm.
Especially when you run into the issue of families, because families still make up a lot of good vast majority of consumers. Families still make up a good vast majority of people that are consuming things like media, that are consuming.
I almost didn't
goods.
watch the Mario movie because I watched a conservative, like a hyper anti woke channel talk about uh, like just really shitting on it,
Oh
and
yeah,
I almost didn't watch it. And the movie was
Was
fantastic, and it was
yeah,
great for my
I loved
kids.
it. I loved it,
was it
and that's
woke? Was that movie woke?
The,
no, not at all.
they thought
That's
it was
the
going to
thing.
be
Okay.
woke from the trailer, and they made such a big deal
Oh,
about it.
But that's the
I
thing.
didn't
If
think it
you if
was.
you if you take the stuff from people who have actually seen them film, and then the people who are just saying it's woke because I haven't actually seen it, but this, then subtract those people that are idiots. When
Yeah,
you have people that have actually seen the movie, that watched it through and through and say, "Yep, I had a legitimate issue with this," and they're telling other people that, "Hey, there's some legitimate issues with this. I don't think it's worth your time." People are going to respond to that more than the people that are just shitting on it and they're going to avoid watching it because it's just, who wants to waste their time watching something that's not generally good.
good question. Good question.
Yeah. But
So
no,
let
that
me
being
ask you: are we woke? You think? Do you think Pierce and I are woke?
I would say maybe Pierce a little bit more so than you, David. But I would say, like, generally speaking, you guys are
Because I said the word conservative.
pretty more well. Generally speaking, if you're someone who's conservative, you generally wouldn't. I would imagine you generally wouldn't want to be associated with woke ideology and stuff. But that said,
The term is
even then,
bastardized. I think there's useful things about it, like
there
the
is absolutely, and it has been bastardized quite a lot. But I think that's why I kind of used the definition I did earlier as an evolution of the social justice movement, because I think that really puts it into a better, more proper context with the historical, with the historical usage of the term. So
I
yeah,
like it. Yeah,
yeah.
I think that encapsulates what most people mean when they use the word.
well, I appreciate that. I'm glad to know that that definition speaks to you guys. But yeah, I'd say, like, generally speaking, you guys seem pretty moderate yourselves as individuals. But if we're talking about, say the server as a whole, well, it's politics. It's a mess.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
That is fun.
All right,
Spirit,
well,
thanks for coming
bring-
up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks.
Right.
Pierce?
I think reverse is next, I believe.
Yep.
And I just
Think
want to
so.
say, when I was laughing after I'm in the middle of that, it was because you were like, it's woke. It's just like we gotta clip that out. That's we gotta put that somewhere. That'll be in the intro next week or something.
Oh, I hope so. And we got to get Nitty up here soon. He's been very patient. He's been around.
Yeah, he
do
will
all the
be
technical
next.
issues.
Yeah,
great.
yeah, true. He's been here from the beginning. Maybe we should have brought him up first. I don't know. I think his hand went up later, apparently,
Yeah.
according to my sources.
Camu.
What's up?
Hello. How's it going? I'm doing pretty. I was gonna say well, but that would be a lie.
Ooh.
What's going
Well.
on?
Just personal stuff in my life,
Mm. Mhm.
financial stuff, just emotional. Just everything shitting the bed at once.
We can change the name of the stream. We love talking about that too.
I have to get Taco back here. Shitting the bed Collins show.
Oh man. So what do you think from listening in? You think we're woke?
Not particularly.
Oh, what's woke to you?
Well, I'd reject what the people have been saying. Like it's very the corporations are trying to be woke, therefore that's what wokeism is. To me, wokeism is or just being woke is the idea that the system at large is like detrimental to itself, that it's causing disparities in both entries and outcomes, in that this system needs to be changed or, in more extreme versions, taken down.
Did you describe wokeness or anarchy or what? I'm
I
not sure.
got
I
confused
follow, my
too.
friend.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Really? That there's a disparity in entries and outcomes, in that shoot, didn't have anywhere else where I was going with that sentence.
Okay.
I want you to try to explain it to me like I was born yesterday.
All right. Shoot, I thought I did a good job. Just that
I'm just the dumb streamer guy. Like you just
Yeah, perhaps you did do a good job. I was trying to fix the audio levels, so maybe I wasn't paying the most attention.
Yeah. Just the idea that the system at its core is broken, and that it needs to be fixed.
What's broken about it?
Just this whole capitalist system that basically, like, things are conglomerating more and more. People are just going for wealth rather than quality. And I think that even shows in the corporate so-called wokeism that's going on right now. They don't really care about these issues. They care about getting to as wide of an audience as possible, or getting those ESG points.
What's the alternative? What's the goal?
I don't know. We may just tear ourselves apart over it. Just that even the trans stuff is so controversial that I feel like we're gonna tear each other apart over that. But I'd like a more equitable system where like equality of outcome is some of the other people said it is a problem. I don't think that people should have an equality of outcome. I think that people should earn their outcome, but in terms of entry into these into the world, like, people are not equal when they enter the world. But even that's kind of tough, because some parents, they work their asses off just to get that extra head start for their kids. So even that can be a hard thing to really do. But I think that people should be taught better, like taught how to fend for themselves a lot better, taught how to live in the system, and how to avoid the major pitfalls of it.
Are you saying that to you woke is someone who is seeing almost the system as such a big problem that nothing can be fixed unless the system is fixed, and they don't have, if they don't, they basically gotta
Yeah, at its
hustle.
core, seeing seeing that the system's broken, and for a large part, that brokenness does break down along racial lines, along like the lines of where the minorities are. Because if you have less people who are like you in the system, then it's harder to really advocate for yourself and the other people who are in that category. So you've got to, well, the corporate answer is to just like have more female or more trans people of color as CEOs instead of just altering the system in general. Like it's a band-aid fix, in my opinion.
So you're saying, I think you're saying, we should lift people up, but not artificially, like naturally, like build them from the beginning.
Build better systems.
Yeah.
Like give them better education, give them, hopefully there's, create less discrimination maybe, but don't just hand them everything they need.
Yeah, better education. Teach them how to like do actual useful things for the world at large. But I think too you should also provide necessities, but anything above that, like that should be earned.
Okay,
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm more of a left libertarian in that regard. So I don't think that it should really be applied by government. It should be more of like a grassroots movement of communities rising up, helping each other, helping the people in the communities, like providing these programs on a more local level instead of like from the top down, from the bottom up.
So you would be a supporter of something like a LGBTQ center, or organization, or um,
Yeah. Like I don't know, I used to be like completely non-believer in God, and now like that's kind of thrown a wrench in the things in terms of the LGBTQ. Like I don't know about like teaching kids about it, like saying, oh, that there are people who have different sexualities, it's fine, but if you're like overly explaining how everything works, like that's a bit sketchy. But
hmm.
there are kids like that need to be that shouldn't be like treated badly because of it. So I don't know, like it just becomes even more of a bag of worms to get into, and then like trans stuff that's even more confusing to me.
Hmm.
Well, you know what I like about you? I like that you said that you're confused instead of making an assumption or viewing some sort of hate. You said, "Hey, I don't." You said, "I don't know. I'm confused." I like that. I like that about you.
No, thank you.
I'm easily confused. Does that mean you like
Me
me,
too.
Pierce?
I do like you, David. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I see people arguing about a lot of times is one of the things you said about people explaining too much to young children or something like that. And it feels like it gets lumped into just LGBTQ stuff, but I think that the value is literally just don't explain sexual stuff to children. I feel like people can just make that line and say that's what they're trying to.
I think that might be
Uh,
the underlying value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
but it
I
gets
had a
lumped
cons-
into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a conservative friend who's like, or I don't completely know his stance on it, but I talked him down to like just them teaching this the stuff when like it would be normal to teach them like when you start teaching health class. And
Yeah.
I think that's about the best we can do. I think the best we can find with these issues is a compromise and talking about it like adults. But if like there are people who just don't like the LGBTQ, like I don't know, I was gonna say exclude them, but that could like cause its own domino effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the hard part of a lot of this stuff. It's like there's probably 8 billion people who are just regular people just trying to live their lives, who have a different orientation or view of themselves, or want to express themselves in a different way. But there is a 1% or less that may exploit being able to break social boundaries because of us being open to those kind of things. And so it's difficult because you don't want to ignore the 1%. Like you don't want to say like we shouldn't have speed limit because most people won't speed. But at the same time, we can't make it where you just can't drive.
Yeah, absolutely. There, we should be accepting within reason.
Yeah. And that's I think that's I just don't see that concession made between the people often. Like that there are regular people just trying to live life, and there are potential risk, and we don't talk about it like that. It's like all or nothing. It's all risk. Like it's all gross people, or it's all gross people, and the other way.
Yeah.
So, so Camus,
But,
do you think we are woke at this point?
let's just say that you are, and just repeat it over and over again until it sinks into you, until the woke mind virus really sinks in.
Yeah, good. Maybe it'll boost my brain.
Yeah.
All right, bud.
Yeah,
Thank you
read
for
Mark.
coming.
And have a good day.
You as well.
Bye.
Hope your day is 10 times better than it started.
Yeah.
Oop, I cut him off.
Cut him off.
Cut him off. Oh well. All right, I'll bring up Nitty. Been waiting forever. Better be good because everybody's been waiting. He's the star of the show.
Yeah. Nitty, get up on the gritty.
If he does the gritty when he gets up here, I like give him $5.
Yeah.
That'd be worth it. He might not be able to come up. I wonder if he's having an issue. Nitty, if you're having an issue, wave your hand. We can't see you.
Maybe giddy.
There he
Figure
is.
it out.
There we go. All right,
Hello.
sweet. All right, so unlike most of the people who've come up before, I have a list of questions for you guys to help everyone else determine if you are actually woke.
I
So
love
do you
it.
want to take some of my quiz here? Well, first, let me define woke. I'm going to say the definitions that I've heard from a few guests, and then I'm going to say mine. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. So I think the consensus definition so far, if someone comes up and defies it, then we'll maybe be split. It goes like this: an aggressive push for DEI policies in government and corporations and socially. I would add that too, because there's definitely a component there of some kind of societal or cultural pressure to be woke.
Okay. Was this one your definition or what you've heard?
That's what I've heard,
Okay, that's what I thought.
and especially
Okay.
how I perceived it from people talking. Okay, my definition is acknowledging disparities, inequalities of opportunity and outcome in the workforce, social mobility, education, and the justice system. So it's, for me, it's a lot about acknowledging that they're there and asking the question, what are we doing to improve this, change this, or maybe, and not change the outcome necessarily for individuals, but change the outcome for our society, right? So let's say in the justice system or law enforcement, there's an obvious bias towards the prosecution of a particular people group based on skin color, ethnicity, whatever. Is it woke to you guys to institute racial or ethnic awareness in the police force?
What's it mean to have awareness?
Okay.
Can I do that?
I guess.
Do I need to do yes or no's and then we'll go back?
No, that's great. That's great. It would be knowing the statistical trends of your enforcement office, maybe, kind of maybe getting a sense of the culture of your law enforcement office. That's more of like hearsay, but I mean, there's that. Yeah, keeping track of who stopped, why, and what actually happens, and kind of matching up, like, does this enforcement of the laws or this stop match between the people group we're trying to raise awareness that has the injustice, or that we believe has the injustice, if that makes sense.
So is this like
So
an
that's what
agree or
awareness or
disagree
need to be.
thing?
Sure. Is that where I would ask you if you agree or disagree on awareness there?
Yeah, that's what we're. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Your question.
Sure. Yeah.
He's
Okay.
quizzing us.
So do you
Okay,
agree on
cool.
that definition of awareness or perception of awareness? For,
Oh, on
like,
the
a law
definition.
enforcement as an
I
example?
think.
Mhm.
I think I would rather, just for the sake of the question, just to accept your
Mhm.
definition and go with it. I'll go with your interpretation.
Cool.
But although also I would agree with it. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think that should be done.
Excellent. Could that go overboard, you think?
Yes.
Maybe. How does it go overboard?
Where it swings the other way, right? They just start trying to enforce the law more heavily on the majority,
Yeah, don't do that. That's bad. Yeah.
like an overcorrection.
No, the law needs to
Yeah.
be
See,
enforced equally. Yeah.
okay, great. How about my what's another one of my questions? This is like a follow-up to my definition of woke. So, can you pick an area where let's go away from the justice system, maybe, like the workforce, social mobility, education. Yeah, do any of those areas you think need more wokeness, as I defined it? So do we need more acknowledgement of disparity or inequality and opportunity in the workforce, in social mobility, or education?
Maybe in some like private religious schools, but in public schools, I think we might be okay. I think. As far as government goes, I guess it depends whether it's like federal, state, city, village. Kind of varies. You're right. I don't know how to answer that necessarily.
It's broad. That's fair.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I wrote these questions quickly. They're not super refined, so give me some
All good.
grace here. What about you, today, David?
So I think they're apologies, 1 second. Okay, so I think that maybe there are specific places, but as a general blanket statement, it's very hard to make. Lean,
Yeah,
yes. Lean, no.
lean yes. Okay. So in at least one of them, like education, workforce. All right,
Yeah.
let's do it this way. On a scale, how much more wokeness do you think the workforce needs? Is it like 2, 3, 10?
One
So
being the
more
lowest, 10
acknowledgement
being
of
the highest.
disparity. Yeah, exactly.
How much more? Like a 2. There's like a few probably industries and companies that may have some things that still need some systematic overhaul, but I do think that we're at a relatively established set at this point.
How about you, Pierce?
I suppose I'd agree with David. I'm struggling to think of examples that would need more of the wokeness as you described. But there's a little part of me that's like, yeah, they probably exist. So I guess I'd say 2 as well.
I think personally, I would go with like a 4 or 5 because I'm pretty sure there are lots of places in, to be blunt, redder areas that aren't like looking in the mirror very much and kind of addressing some biases they might have to people in their community, or seeing that maybe they have stronger preferences to their like people, which is a large representation of the country because there's more rural people than there are urban. Well,
I reckon.
that might be inaccurate, but there's a lot of things going on out there that are more dispersed and maybe less reflective, in my opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion.
So-
Okay.
Yeah, let's hear your next thought here.
No, I'm gonna switch topics a little bit. So if you had more to say, go for it.
I don't. Let's hear it.
Okay.
Did we pass or fail? Is it not over yet?
I don't know if it's a pass or fail.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit you with broad spectrums, and then we're gonna give you a woke
Okay.
scale, right? You can
Okay,
decide
I
after
love
the
it.
stream where you put yourself
I
on the
love it.
woke scale.
I love spectrums, just look at the background.
Yeah. So how much does representation, as you understand it, go into your choices of media consumption?
Hmm. I don't think it really does. I choose what I like. I think that's really the only factor. More
What about
about the
you
content than
today,
anything
David?
else.
Mm-hmm.
Say the question again.
How much does representation, as you understand it, go into how you choose what you watch?
Choosing, not much. I mean, but most of the shows grew up, look like me, yada yada yada.
Okay.
But I might not choose something that's in a completely different language or a different kind of cultural context. I probably won't watch a French
Well,
film.
maybe let's frame representation as purposely creating. Is it purposely? Yeah, we'll say purposely casting for representation. Like changing Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the Caramel.
I think
If that's crass.
Oh, very, very subtle. I like it.
because I think what you're asking is, does that impact our decision whether we watch it or not?
Yes. Yeah. Or how much? Well, not. Yeah. Would it play?
Yeah.
Does it play some role? Not much role.
No, I'm not even paying attention.
All right. My personal response to that would be, it's kind of a trap question, because if you say it matters, a conservative would be like, you're just, riding the tailcoats of this movement, and do you really actually care, right? Or are you virtue signaling or something? Oh, you don't care? Well, you just want to consume media that looks like you, right? So you can't win,
Yeah.
answering that question on one extreme or the other.
All
I
I do
didn't
is
mean to
win,
make it a
Nitty.
trap.
No matter what.
Okay. Yeah. Similarly, how about where you spend money? Or how you spend your money? How much does representation matter?
Like at the strip club versus the grocery store, is that what we're going for? Or?
Sure, you
50-50.
pick a place. 50-50, nice. No, so like let's say a brand is doing a LGBTQIA marketing campaign.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Would
I
that
get it.
affect? Would that like a good example would be like Lego, right? They had the rainbow Lego set for all the people and a rainbow on a shelf display. I collect Lego, by the way. Would that affect how you would or would not purchase Lego?
Yeah, no, I'm buying whatever, and I'm not really paying attention. If it's got the rainbow, goes in the cart, whatever, don't care. If it doesn't, okay, it didn't have it. Oh well.
It's like they're already an established brand. They already have good stuff, and they have other stuff I can buy. The history and nostalgia and all yada yada yada. But like if I walked up and I saw like a hat company and it was like focused on solely about making hats that represent trout farmers in Alaska or something like that, I'm going to be less inclined to care, or like it doesn't fit my life context in that way or whatever. So, I mean, I probably wouldn't give them a chance.
Okay.
What about
Yeah.
David? David, what about the coffee brand? I forgot the name. I think it's like Black Rifle Coffee.
Black
It's
Rifle.
like
Yeah.
extremely conservative company or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you buy that? You got that in Folgers? They're
Right.
the same price, same quality. Which one do you pick?
This might make me a little woke. I'd probably pick the Folgers just because the branding of Black Rifle is like it's not the word arrogant. It's just almost just like the fandom is annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought it for my dad, but still.
How dare you?
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
agree with you on that. Yeah.
Okay, so in the vein of previous callers or people on the stage, let's ask this question more bluntly. Do you believe people should be given preference by gender, ethnicity, or self-identification in the workplace, particularly?
Preference as in, like, they get hired more often, or
Like this is a known characteristic, and we're going to prefer that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you ought to hire the best candidate. And what I would like to see, if there is a disparity, that we try to build people up from the ground up, right? Have education be accessible to everybody. Have everybody who's give them all the best chance that they got. Uh, from kindergarten all the way through college, and hopefully have some some laws on the books that prevent discrimination. We don't want that. But I think you ought to hire the best candidate. I think that makes the most sense.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And you today, David?
I feel like that um, the angle that I look at it from is there one, I'm confused why meritocratist people who are all about a meritocracy are not gender abolitionists. If they want to say, if you can do it, you have the job, best person in the job, why have any kind of limitations on people in general? That's the thing. I just think there shouldn't be limitations. I think there shouldn't be expectations of like, well, this person is a female, this person is this ethnicity, this person
Mhm.
has this disability, and uh, if they can do the job, if they can do it, then they should be doing it. But there's stigmas, and the question is, do we get past the stigmas by basically making it standardized for a few generations, and then it stops being a stigma? Or is there like a logical argument that we can make with people to say, um, here's how this makes sense, and then they'll just get over it? Like, does society change that way? And of course there's always going to be outliers, and I'm just really just kind of starting to hit that overwhelmed of holy crap, you can't fix the world. But I keep reminding myself that you can interact with real people and do real interactions. So I'm back on the ground now. What was the question?
It was should you give preference to gender, ethnicity, or self-identification in the workplace?
Is that just in hiring, or is that in
Well, no.
performance?
Let's say whatever.
In hiring? No. I think you should give preference to physical fitness, but I think that's not necessarily dependent on any of those things.
I would say
I guess-
that depends on the role for sure. Like,
Yeah.
do you need to lift more than a 25-pound box? Can't do it. I mean, that's definitely something I need to discriminate on. But if it, like a package carrier. All right. How big of a problem do you think misgendering is? Is it a problem at all?
I think we should do our best to fulfill the needs of others if it doesn't get in the way of us fulfilling our own needs. What I mean by that is, if you're interacting with someone and being respectful is going to fulfill one of their needs for them, and I don't think being respectful is going to impact you at all. I think that you should be respectful and use their preferred pronouns. And I think that
So I don't know if you're actually answering my question. Do you think
I'm not.
it's,
I'm not. I'm getting there. Though.
Okay.
I'm getting there. I didn't lose
I'm
track
waiting
like
for
David.
that.
I was about to when you said that. So with that being said, it's okay. With that being said, I think that we're getting there. I think in the past misgendering has been bigger issue than it is today, but it probably still is an issue to some extent, and I'm not entirely sure what extent, but
Okay.
there is an issue there.
All right, I'm going to shift to one more question. That'll be all my questions.
Well, I want to answer that one.
Okay.
Hold the
Okay,
gritty,
answer
Nitty.
that one. Answer. I don't want. I want to, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about me as like a so you just kind of know who I am, I guess.
Sure.
Okay.
I think one, I just feel my heart breaks for people who feel as though that they feel such dysmorphia and like the hate of themselves that the association with someone that they were existing as in the past is traumatizing. That I hate that. Like I feel pain for people who feel that pain. But like it's back to those things. It's like 99% of people doing their normal everyday, just trying to live their life, just trying to express themselves, just trying to have a sense of identity. But there's the 1% who can abuse this, who could do, the whole Jordan Peterson compulsion of language stuff, the whole, self-declared change on a whim.
To suppress my expression.
There it is. Thanks, JP. And so it's like, is there any kind of thing that could prevent that from being abused? I don't know. That's the hard part. Is like, because I'm with Pearson in a lot of ways. Like D-bad, don't be an asshole unless necessary. But if somebody can just kind of change on a whim, there's a lot of wiggle room for, especially in like a corporate situation, especially in like a situation in which there's like a power dynamic. So it's yeah, I think there is a problem because our language is falling apart because we are learning that these things that were once very set are more loose because of the way the world is evolving. And I don't know. I just see gender abolition happening. It's going to happen. I don't think sex is going away. I think, we're going to still have that, but
yeah, there's many people in prominent trans communities in the atheist space that are like, we acknowledge sex. Okay. All right. My last question is, how do I want to phrase it? Would you support, I'm trying to make it yes, no. Would you support a complete sex education on sex, we'll say heterosexual sex by the age of 7? Like a child understands everything about that at the age of 7. Heterosexual only.
Okay. I think I need a little clarifier.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like it's
The process
there's
of
no-
reproduction only.
yeah. But like the other part is just never included, or is it coming, or is it deal with that?
It'd be
Like the homosexual part.
It'd be like lesser things, like mommy and daddy come together to make a baby, but no more than that, right?
are we talking about
That
the
would be
cum,
like
or are
it.
we just talking about them getting together?
Yes, penis and vagina, and the sperm hits the egg, and it's required that the male impregnate the female, and here's how that works. At the age of 7, we'll say. 7.
Do like the schools, I assume you're saying?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. No, I don't want the schools to do it at 7, but I want them
Okay.
to at least mention it by the time that puberty is about to hit.
Maybe 9, 10. What would you say? It was better.
I don't know. I
Do you get more comfortable at 9 or 10?
I think I get a little more comfortable at generic 10. I don't know if I like how I support any kind of like imagery or anything like that. I mean,
Okay,
but
sure.
I mean, I think you could honestly. I mean, you could if I have like a young child, and if he ever
Me
asks
too.
like
Me too.
um
She's 7.
what is sex or whatever, and I just say like
Uh-huh.
people put uh like the a penis in a vulva,
Go on, say it.
yeah, or a penis in a butt. I'm thinking about how I want to word it now. That's fun. But I mean, I think I could give a broad answer at that age,
Okay.
but I don't think I want the schools to do a whole course on it.
Mm.
I think they could just like well, no, actually that's the opposite of what people are talking about. But yeah, just like ask the teachers that, hey, just send a little note. Hey, he's asking about this. Bada boom, bada bing.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so in the interest of my time on stage, I'll just go to the woke part of the question, right? Now, what about like since we're gonna move that goalpost up to like say we'll go 10 years old. Is that good
Sure.
okay.
for the heterosexual stuff? Okay, for you, would you agree or disagree with then a more complete sex education at 10? You know, informed about homosexuality, transgender identities, bisexual interactions and relationships. Like, do you think that would be okay at the age of 10 or not okay? Or lean yes, lean no?
I would say yes, as long as it's all backed by scientific evidence. I'd be good with it.
I'm sterile.
Yeah. Like no opinions inserted into it. Just strictly the
But if your kid makes
science.
it to 10 years old and hasn't seen like a gay couple or hasn't seen someone who's not acting the gender that they were born into, and they haven't asked you any questions or something like that, you might want to look at your parenting style. If they haven't asked you any kind of questions about any of that stuff before 10 years old, like because is your kids not curious? They not see things? They not think they can ask you about things? Like,
Are you
why
not talking to your child?
are you not talking to your child?
Yeah.
It's like do you want to protect your kid from a lot of the pains in this world as long as you can, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I mean, they're going to see stuff. I mean, at least give them like a reference
Mhm.
point or something.
Yeah, I've given my children comprehensive terminology at minimum, like not explain like mechanics. But I was told, I'm an atheist. I used to be a Christian. I was even told in my Christian church that terminology is important. God forbid, you know, a priest or a deacon in here goes haywire, right? Because to prosecute, they can't prosecute on hot dog, okay? Or it becomes really difficult because there could be a vagueness there as to what fully occurred, and so my children know what all their parts are and what can happen to them, and that they can have their own time in their room if they want to figure that stuff out. Just go over there, time and place, right?
Yeah.
So that's how woke I am. Okay, I'll just give you a quick rundown of me. I actually am on a DEI committee at my job. I'm a white cis male. And I used to perceive DEI committees as if you white, you ain't got no right, meaning like I don't deserve a stake in the conversation based on my demographic, right? So for me, how I see and interact on my DE&I committee, we don't believe in things like equality of outcome, like hiring preferences or merit preferences based on demographic. That would be absurd, right? We're actively trying to make sure those things don't happen. DE&I is often perceived as for us, I'm going to say this is for us, as an organization that's constantly trying to protect and over prefer, minorities or underrepresented people. When in reality, for us, like I have to watch my language and communication about religion and religious preferences, and it's less diverse and equitable of me to be against Christianity, or types of religious expression that may come by at work, right? So there's just as much a consideration for the more represented people as there are for the less represented people. And that's, again, having a plurality of voice on the committee helps to address that kind of stuff. And a lot of it for us is the acknowledgement of maybe like ageism. Like a lot of people don't think about ageism as a problem, but in my sphere, the web development sphere, ageism is a super thing, right? Like hire the young's, prodigy, right? When there could be a perfectly suitable, long experienced individual to accomplish the job. Or inversely, there's some hiring practices that are just like, we're not even going to give like a 1-2 year person the chance, even though they might demonstrate, like we're not even going to put them up to the test. Basically, they're too fresh in our minds, right? Like give them the damn coding test. My God.
The meritocracy
so,
again. What does this woke stuff do and having meritocracy stuff in it?
Yeah. And I consume a lot of different kinds of media, even The Boys. Did you guys watch The Boys?
I just finished that season yesterday. This morning, actually.
Did you
the
see
new episode came out this morning.
On one of the episodes? Yeah, on one of their episodes, they actually addressed through the characters in VOT the wokeness for the sake of being wokeness and how disingenuous it is, right? And I totally think that's happening. So I actually can agree with some of the prior people on stage that it does happen, and it's unfortunate that it does. And sometimes you can definitely see that, like with Budweiser or whatever. They're like, well, okay, well, that was too woke for you, Kid Rock. Okay, we'll get rid of the cans.
The
right,
4 cans we made for one person.
Right. And so I am on YouTube. I do atheism stuff, and I actually want to do more stuff like that you guys do. I go on a college campus, and I have a sign that says, it's best to be an atheist, let's chat. And I'm working on recording those conversations and putting them online for people to interact with. So that's a little bit about me. Do you have any questions for me after all those questions?
Are we woke?
I'd say, from what I gather, you're average people trying to get life. And if you see injustice or inequality, you'll be like, hey, that's fucked up. Right? And so you're woke enough to pass in my you're welcome to the cookout.
Do I have to dye my hair?
You're if it's Tuesday, yes.
Okay.
It's Woke Tuesday at my cookouts. So
No.
I'm just kidding. I
know.
But yeah, I don't see you guys as like, my questions were geared towards finding how extreme you are. And I hope you were being honest about, how much you want to push the envelope on those kinds of issues, right? Because the more you're passionate about those issues tells me how others might perceive you as woke, or even how hard you go on my definition from the beginning, right? Which was awareness of acknowledging disparities or inequalities of opportunity and outcome in the workforce, social mobility, education, and the justice system. I'm sure there's more you can put on the list, but I think we have a lot of points of agreement, and you're cool dudes. And I hope I can hang out with you more.
Appreciate you, dude. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah.
We'll check out your
so much for
channel
letting
and
me have a lot of the floor. Oh, it's tiny.
yeah.
All right. See you around.
See ya.
All right, we'll bring up the next guest here.
Yeah,
What's up?
hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I was just wondering why you guys are atheists. I think it's pretty irrational.
the woke mind virus got to me, and it basically eroded all my ability to think straight.
That was really funny. Next time with the delivery, make it like faster. It makes you seem more rhetorically gifted.
I'm not.
But yeah, are
rhetorically
you just
gifted.
like are you brain dead retard, or do you not have a justification?
Yes, actually, yeah. I was born
You are
yesterday.
you
I
are a
basically
brain dead
live in that
retard.
way. Mhm.
Okay.
I just
Alright.
smoked some weed, and you know, that's how I came up with my conclusion.
And you're also obese, right? No,
You
I'm just
sure?
playing with you,
I don't
bro.
know
I'm
what
just
that
playing with
means.
you, bro.
A beast.
You're a good looking dude, though. I feel bad treating humans like Tara. I don't know.
It's part of the internet world. I get it. That's what, especially what Discord is part of the game of it. I get it. I get it. And yeah.
How do you know we
So
were atheist?
yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know.
Where'd he go? Did you kick him or did he go out?
I didn't kick him. No,
All right. He
just left.
but oh yeah. But yeah. Spirit, I'll give Spirit 5 more minutes and then I'll probably want to wrap up.
All right, let's do it.
Unless the world unravels and we'll see.
It could. You never know. Like,
You never know.
never know.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Spirit again.
Hey. Well, I just figured I'd pop in again and see if you guys wanted to continue talking, or if there was anything else that would be interesting to talk about. I was, yes, actually, I was in your YouTube stream chat, chatting with some other people and bringing to light some interesting topics of discussion. Which I don't know if we want to have those conversations in here, but
There was one thing. Let me scroll up that I
mhm.
wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Where the heck was it? It was right when I asked you that.
Is it like the first thing I said when I said in the chat the teaching kids things like how to enact on full sexual intercourse at ages as young as late elementary school is simply wrong?
Yes. Yeah, let's chat about
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we'll chat about it.
Um,
So what did you want to know? What did you want to ask?
yeah, is there an appropriate age where that would be acceptable?
Yeah, I think when kids are starting to enter into the like the age of puberty, when they are starting to really go through those hormonal changes. Now, that is a difficult, even that's a bit difficult for me to say firmly because of the fact that due to social and biological changes, even the stuff that's in our food nowadays, it has been proven that children, especially young girls,
They're
and I
hitting
think
puberty
boys,
earlier.
they are hitting
Mhm.
puberty earlier. Yes, and especially with social changes, like social media is so incredibly easy to access nowadays that pornographic content, even softcore porn, that's something that is way too easily
Yeah.
accessible by
And lots of
children at this
violence
point.
at their hands too.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Absolutely. I would say even possibly even I don't know if violence would have as much of a hormonal change, but perhaps it does. But things like sex and softcore porn, even those things are way too easily accessible. And frankly, when someone is exposed to pornographic material, it does induce neurochemical changes in their brain. And I think, that combined with, again, society exposing kids to such a young age to this stuff, and also even just the food that we eat and how that impacts our hormonal balances as human beings. I think those are all different contributing factors to how early puberty can start in a child. And I mean, of course, genetics has a role to play as well.
Yeah.
But that
I remember
said,
being a kid watching the Hardee's commercial with a woman in bikini and
Yep.
short shorts,
yeah,
like on a car with welding going on in the background, American flags.
yeah.
And
I'm sure a lot of young boys, they probably saw the old what was it, Nintendo or Super Nintendo commercial where the kids having I don't know, what was it, something of a wet dream or something, that there's like a this beautiful model standing in like just a bikini holding
I don't remember that one.
snacks and a NES console, like that sort of thing is that it's in our
But nobody said
appetite.
that was woke. I mean,
But
nobody.
that's the thing, I don't consider that stuff to be necessarily woke. Porn's just something that's always been around. But when you're going out of your way to teach children about things like different sex positions or different in fact, there was actually a kids book. I don't remember what the name of it was at the present time, but I remember finding an article about a kids book that was in a school library at one point that had basically cartoonized depictions of different sexual acts and showed essentially cartoonized versions of prepubescent or pubescent kids that were engaging in these sexual acts with each other. And those sorts of things are just not appropriate to be teaching a child, unless
But
you're
puberty
the child.
age.
Well, even at puberty age, there's a limit. I think once you start to hit puberty, I think that's when a child should know that, hey, this is what sex is. This is how it works. It's the kind of talk that we, most of us used to get from our parents, growing up. We used to go through the talk at some point in our lives where, the parent says, oh yeah, so this is what sex is. These are the hormone changes that are going through your body. You're going to get, hair growth down here. You're going to get, for guys, you're going to get erections. For girls, you're going to, start to, get, how should we say, you're going to get
Periods.
aroused. Your periods as well.
Yeah.
Yep, you're going to start experiencing all those things. So essentially, like you're those are when you talk about the basics, that's I think the age when these kids should start to learn the basics. But you have particularly advocates of LGBTQ plus groups that are going so far as to say, no, these kids at such a young age, they need to know the full gambit, the full entire gambit, even into more, shall we say, hardcore acts, and more like
Like on a percentage of like, 0 to 100%. Like,
Yeah.
how many people who are in prominent advocacy groups are making that particular stand?
I would say in terms of the advocates, I would say if I had to put a number figure on it, maybe
And
about
we're just speculating
75
here.
plus, like just
75%
speculation.
are
In the advocacy group, though, and I make a distinction between that because I've known quite a number of individuals that are LGBT individuals themselves, right? I've been friends with a bunch of LGBT individuals, and people who are in that group but are not advocates. They're not the outspoken loudspeaker getting on a soapbox and preaching the good name of the LGBT or whatever. And I am still in contact with those people. They're demons. So that being said, no, there are people that do genuinely advocate for that. So
I
that
think
being
there
said,
are people who advocate for all sorts of crazy things.
absolutely there are. That said, though, I think we can.
If we're talking like super young, like, I mean, we're talking super
Yeah.
young and we're talking graphic displays of children doing those things, then yes.
Or even,
But like, if we're talking
15
about puberty
teenagers.
age kids, because I
Yeah.
mean, that's what, 6th grade, maybe even into 5th grade at this point.
Yeah, no, 5th grade, 6th grade, those age groups, I don't think they should be exposed to the full gamut. I think, the most they should get is they should get the basics, the proper basics. And then leave the rest up to the parents. Send them home with maybe a little bit of homework that the parents can review. It's optional homework that the parents can review with their kids. They can go over the things that the parents, because really at the end of the day, a lot of the issue that I have with this this movement in the schools is really because it violates parents' rights.
Don't
Parents
the parents
have
have to sign a permission slip to be a part of this kind of thing?
It depends on where you are. Like in some cases, yes, in some cases, no.
Find us in the chat or whatever, and send us some examples of stuff like that.
No,
Because there's a lot of claims and stuff like that, and it's hard to sort through. Just kind of, you're saying trust me, bro. I'm saying trust me, bro. So I mean,
no,
we
I
gotta.
get that. But that being said, these these advocacy groups, I would say the people that are the loudest on the soapbox, there is a vast majority of those individuals that I think that are more outspoken about these topics and that do other
The squeaky
outwardly
wheel gets
or
oil. I mean,
what's that?
the squeaky wheel gets oil. Haven't you heard that?
Absolutely. But
I mean,
I completely agree with that statement.
there's a reason Alex Jones has so much following. I mean, he makes a
Absolutely.
noise. Like I mean, he makes headlines.
Absolutely. Would I say though that the vast majority of LGBT individuals as a whole, as a whole, people that are just living their lives and just want to be left the hell alone, those people, I would say the vast majority are actually on the side of no, we need to protect kids. We need to make sure that kids are not exposed to this stuff at such a young age. My experiences with people in those groups have taught me that, and it really is just more of the advocacy, the people that are the most, so the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Those people I think are the ones that tend to be more outspoken about kids being taught, or in my view exposed to these topics at ages that are frankly far too young in my mind.
Of these squeaky wheel people are so outspoken about exposing kids to these crazy sex stuff, whatever. What do you think? Why do you think they're doing that? What do you think their purpose is?
Well, quite frankly, if I had to speculate, and this brings me no pleasure to even say this, but I don't know if you guys have heard at all of the MAPS movement, MAPS.
No.
Minorly
so-
attracted people.
Yes, minor attracted persons. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
they have the people within that group, shall we say, bunch of sickos. These individuals have made it a very strong point to try to integrate themselves with the rest of the LGBT community. And as unfortunate as that is, it means that some of these people, they do get into LGBT advocacy, and then they start to inject their ideas because they want it to become more socially acceptable by, I guess, sort of riding the coattails of the LGBT movement as a whole. So I would say that most likely has something to do with it. I can't speak for every LGBT advocate, of course, but I would imagine, I would speculate that does have something to do with that.
If we showed you a number of people rejecting that type of
Oh yes, I've seen a lot of people. I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of people that have openly rejected that, and that is good. That's something we need to see more of. At the same time, though, however, you also have, I don't know if it was this past year or if it was perhaps I think if it was this year's Pride Month or if it was last year's, but there was a video circulating online of, I believe it was a pride march or something, a pride parade or something, where you had a lot of LGBT plus individuals that are chanting at the top of their lungs, "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children." And that was tried to, that made, I believe that made at least local headlines, if not even state or national headlines. But that came into a big controversy, and a lot of the media that support the LGBT, they tried
That's
to
pretty
spin it off. It's
terrible
being a joke.
whether or not they're trying to be genuine or they're trying
Whether
to
or
say
not they're
something nice.
being,
If they're
a joke or
trying to say
whatever.
something nice, it's terrible wording. That's
Oh.
terrible marketing.
Absolutely. But the fact is, if you have people that are willing to say that in your group, you need to really take a look at your movement as a whole.
But it's hard
And you
to.
need to-
I mean, it's so hard
you need
to do. I mean, it's not.
Well, that's the
It's
thing,
not
it
the
is
Catholic
hard to
Church.
do
It doesn't
because-
have its own figurehead. It doesn't
That
have its
is the thing,
structure.
and that is one of the things that really kind of worries me about the future of the LGBT movement, because frankly, I don't give a shit if you're gay, straight, bi, if you're trans, whatever the fuck you are. as long as you're not shoving it down my throat, as long as you're not shoving it down the throats of kids. But what we're seeing is
Well, here-
slowly, and what we're seeing is slowly over time that this movement is trying to inject itself into the LGBT fabric, let's say. And whether, you know, and they get stopped at certain points, but it doesn't stop them from trying. That's the thing. They get stopped in certain moves that they make. They get backlash for certain moves that they make.
Well, yeah,
But
it's
it
just
doesn't
human
stop them from
existence.
it doesn't stop them from trying, though. It doesn't stop them from continuing the course of trying
I
to
mean-
normalize it.
Couldn't you say that about like lots of different movements and other people trying to
You could even
hijack those
say that about the
movements?
LGBT
Yeah.
movement itself, back before LGBT was considered socially acceptable. You could even say that about the LGBT movement themselves. I mean, you could even argue.
You could say that about various
Peter-
Christians organizations. I mean, there's
Oh,
wacko
sure.
like
there's
schizo
wacko
type.
there's wacko sections of any movement, of any group.
Yeah.
The big
But-
problem, I think, though, I think the difference, and you defined this difference earlier between something like the Judeo-Christian movement and the and things like, you know, the Catholic Church. The big difference between that and the LGBT movement is that these these LGBT groups, they're not a monolith. They don't have a hierarchy. They don't have an accountability. All they have really is social influence, and they've got social what's it called? They've got the social popularity, or whatever it is. They've got a social framework, and then I guess they respond to the court of public opinion, but they're not held accountable to any hierarchy, which frankly hierarchies are an important thing in society, in my mind. But when you have a movement like the LGBT that doesn't have a hierarchy, you have no one really to answer to.
But the LGBT is, in a lot of ways, is not as much a like a it's not as much an organization or a posit to say like these.
Well,
In a lot of ways, it's
let me
just a
throw some-
reaction. It's literally just saying like, you say that this shouldn't be allowed, like gay marriage or something, and we're saying that that is perfectly within it. They say it's in the values that you expose of things like love, or the things that like of people growing close and bonding. Like,
Well, just to kind of counter that point there, to love someone means to tell them the truth. And if what you believe to be true is that there are certain things that are right and that are wrong, you are then obligated as someone who is loving to inform that person of the truth.
So you hear what I'm saying? Yeah. So you hear what I'm saying, because the way the
There's two sides to that
LGBT has to work
argument.
is it's a response to things. It's not as much a
Yes and no, because you could just as easily, from, like, for example, a legal standpoint, you could draw very similar you could draw sort of a Venn diagram of all the similarities between the LGBT and a church, and you could find a lot of similarities. You have LGBT charities that are collecting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars annually. And these charities, because they're charities, I believe they are tax exempt. I'm not sure exactly how tax law works in the US, but I believe they are tax exempt in the States. So just like the church, they are allowed to collect donations to their cause. They have high social status. They're two different sides of the coin, but they have high social status in society, both of them. And they also have high social importance in society, as determined by we the people. You could also make the argument that both of them have a lot of influence on things like corporate policy, and they have also influence on government policy. You could also make the argument that there is a lot of different sections of the LGBT community and the church. So you could make that argument on both sides, but I would say one of the big defining differences is that while in churches you have hierarchies, generally speaking, and I mean we'll leave out the extreme outliers for a second here, but you have hierarchies in the church responsible and that act according to a either biblical text, or they act according to those above them in that hierarchy. While you have that, and that helps to create a stability, you don't really have that in the LGBT community, because again, it's not a monolith. It doesn't have any sort of
What?
higher power that it responds to.
Why is this important? Like you
Because
specifically?
because the difference is one has some form of accountability, even if it's not always perfect. One has some form of accountability. LGBTQ, the whole community, there's no real accountability except the public opinion, and public opinion is something that's easily swayed and very easily messed with, especially if you are someone who has access to the right tools.
Like capitalism. Yeah. My theory is that wokeness comes from capitalism. It's rainbow capitalism.
The top of the hierarchy in the
You said it earlier. BlackRock, the investment company, has its hand in so many of these things. It's literally, it's a monetary move. I don't understand how this is.
You have to ask yourself though, why? Because we've seen time after time, like even just going back to the Disney example, right? These companies are quickly finding out, and Disney, in fact, is quickly finding out that the more it continues to try to
You're going off on a tangent here. Like, I don't think you're actually making an example on that.
You have to ask why, because it has been
why
it's starting to show more and more that as companies continue to push for wokeness, they are receiving greater and greater financial hits.
That's not an answer of why, though. That's just you critiquing it.
No, but that's the question though, is that being the context, why on earth would they continue to support it financially? What do they have to gain?
What would be the second best explanation over the financial gain?
Like besides maybe the idea that they want to see, like, these individuals maybe want to see this kind of change happen. Maybe the ruling class, for all we know, maybe the ruling class really have it out for the rest of society, and they want to put us all beneath the boot by conquering and dividing us. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like none of that sounded like the woke people as much as
the woke movement is just a tool at that point. It's a pawn in their game. But even then, it's still a powerful tool. And again, there's not really a hierarchy for it to answer to. It doesn't.
Trying to figure out the end game. There's no hierarchy, but there's corporations. It's a tool. A lot being said. A lot to take in.
There is.
And I don't think I can. I haven't been able to put those dots together. I don't know about David. Are you putting those dots together? Does that?
Yeah, but I'm keeping to myself. We do gotta get wrap up here.
One thing I would suggest to you, I not suggest, I would just kind of ask you guys, as someone who is interested, in these kind of discussions, have either of you taken a look at? There's a very well-known speaker and I think social psychologist named Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. Have you guys ever listened to any of his takes on that from a psychological perspective and like a social psychology perspective?
I have cleaned my room once or twice.
That wasn't really the question, but sure.
No, yeah, like Jordan Peterson has made interesting parts. I really liked a lot of his old lectures. I used to watch his classroom recordings. Whenever, in fact, earlier in the stream, I quoted him talking about the compulsion of language and the big Canada thing up there. I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah, compulsion of language.
I think at some point he started feeling like he stopped talking about policies and started talking about boogeymen. And stopped talking about concepts and started just talking about see who cancels who first, as opposed to I don't know. He started feeling very grifty after a while to me.
I would disagree. I think if you take a look at some of his more recent podcasts, particularly pertaining around this subject, I would think there's a lot of interesting points there to be made, for both sides. And he has his podcast where he brings on people that do detract from his opinions, and he debates them.
Yeah, I think I saw
on
one
podcasts.
last month or so.
I would say if that is a conversation that you're interested in digging more into, I'd say definitely give those podcasts a watch, because it's very interesting to hear someone who's really studied social psychology, psychology of groups and as people.
Mhm.
You know, I would say that's a really interesting perspective to hear from.
Yeah, I hear that, and at some point, I probably will do some interactions with some Jordan Peterson material.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
honestly, this is easier for my life right now because I just sit down and do it, as
Yeah.
opposed to spending hours and
Yeah.
hours and hours editing. Because I also do that for a living at times, and it's not fun.
That is entirely fair. But yeah, no. Did you guys have any other questions for me on the subject, or any other questions in general?
Do you feel as though you said that the majority of the people you know seem like just regular people and stuff like that, but you know that you come off, when you speak, the impression that you give me is someone who basically lampoons anybody associated with like the LGBTQ community as
No,
like
specifically,
part
I
of
love
that
the
grift.
activism.
Like that's the impression that you're giving off. I just wanted to let you know, like, if
Oh,
I'm not trying to say that as like a
that's the
disparaging
impression I give
thing.
off. No, I don't mean to target really the to lampoon the LGBT community as a whole. I mean to really specifically target the most outspoken, the squeaky wheels, as we were talking about before, because those are the people that are actually trying to make the effort to change societal opinion on these different topics. And that's what worries me the most.
Yeah, I honestly, and I might get a little flack for saying that. I mean, I think there are a number of things that you and I would probably agree on,
Sure.
but you are a machine gun and you posit 500 claims, uh, all in a row, and it's hard for me to want to hitch my horse to anything you say, because it feels like I have to sort through 20 other things before I can agree to it, if that makes sense.
That is something I have been told before. I've done a lot, and I mean a lot, of reading, of listening. I've listened to so many different speakers, so many different pundits on both sides of the aisle. Listened to so many things that have all culminated, and I have ADHD, and it could have been misdiagnosed as high functioning autism. But basically, I bring that up to say that I have a very keen ability to find patterns, in behavior, to find patterns in people, and to um, essentially ask that question of, why would somebody want to do this? And also, because of the fact that that I've done a lot of study of psychology, a lot of self-study of psychology, I find myself going to that oftentimes, what I know of psychology, and essentially using that as a basis, as well as how from experience people generally are. Um, I just have I guess an ability to put points together. And I
I
know
was watching a
a lot
video.
of people argue that those dots don't exist, but they
Here,
again don't see things like I do.
I was watching a video by a guy named Navigate with Nate recently, and he was talking about something like a mind map, like a belief map. And I don't even know
Yeah.
if I understand it correctly 100%, but basically you can draw a map of an area, and it can be true to itself, but that doesn't necessarily means that the whole, like, you're mapping truly everything that's there. And And there's other places that could have gaps based on the context and stuff like that. So as a person who also feels like I notice patterns and have ADHD, I would just encourage you to potentially take it off a fully automatic sometimes and switch to that single fire and
Sure. No, I can
because
get
like
that
in the
too.
context I can see how a lot of these things can work, and especially, I mean, you know echo chambers, yada yada yada. I'm not gonna
You have to account for biases and biases in information and echo chambers and things like that, of course.
so, but yeah, send me a message after this. I'll send you some. You send me some videos. I'll send you some videos.
Sure.
And I'm gonna go to bed soon. We're going to do a little after
Cool.
party, I think.
Sounds good.
On the Compassionate Epistemology server, and Pierce will put a link up to all those kind of things here at the Discord and on.
I will try to.
On the YouTubes. He'll work on that while I talk us out. Spirit, thanks for coming up.
No problem.
And we might do something like this again. I don't know, Peter. We'll talk about it later. But
We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Sounds like a plan. Well, thank you so much for having us all tonight, and yeah, have yourselves a good evening.
You too.
You too.
Thanks
All right.
for coming up.
Thanks.
So I think I got the link in the chat, you guys. Hopefully that works. It should, both on Discord and on YouTube. Yeah, that shows on the Compassionate Epistemology server project we've been working on. Two of us have been.
Next time we do this, we're coming with a list of topics. Because there's so many things I want people to ask me about these kind of things. I want to know like where it stands and how it holds up.
This was an interesting format.
It was.
It was
a
different.
call-in show. With that.
It's like a reverse call-in show, kind of, sort of.
Yeah. It was definitely a little change of form. But if you like this kind of thing, let us know. We might consider doing it again. I'm definitely looking for people to do interviews on these kind of topics, especially with the 2-Day David premise of explaining things to a person born yesterday, whether it be something like gender, whether it be something like religion, whether it be any things, wokeness. I'd love to kind of have these kind of conversations in a more slowed down environment where we could really hash these thoughts out. And Pierce is also an incredible interviewer. Be sure to check out his channel. He is the host with the most, and he does all the legwork on these call-in shows and all the graphics and stuff like that. And I always got to give him a shout out because he is the man with a plan. And I'm super grateful. And I'm gonna let you roll us out here but I also want to hear your thoughts on the close up here. Close us up, button us up here.
All right, I will. Well, thank you for the compliment, David. I was a bit of a zombie today, and I don't really know why. I guess I was the form of the show that threw me off here.
Yeah, it's a little different.
I am the interviewer, not the interviewee. But yeah, it was. I liked it though. I like that one guy who came up with all those questions and then asked us. That was interesting and neat. I like that.
That was, yeah.
But, yeah. Well, without further ado, I don't have much else to say. But we'll be in there in the after show. The link is in the comments on YouTube. It's on the side thingy in Discord, whatever you want to call it, the chat. So
check our profiles.
It's in the profile too. But anyways, with that being said, we'll see you there. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.